The male narrator, 24, has always admired his neighbor's mom from afar. She's a 42-year-old woman, graceful, elegant, and striking in a way that doesn't scream for attention, but rather invites it with subtlety. He's noticed her long before, but the age difference has always made him hesitate. She's beautiful in a timeless way, her laugh contagious and warm, her presence magnetic. There was never an opportunity to act on his admiration, so he kept it to himself, choosing to quietly admire her from a distance. But today, something changes. It's a quiet afternoon when they run into each other in the yard. He's out by his car, trying to fix something that's been giving him trouble. The moment he hears her voice, he freezes. "Don't pretend you don't notice me," she says, stepping onto the porch. There's a slight smirk on her face, but her eyes hold something deeper, something more vulnerable. For a moment, he's taken aback, his heart skipping a beat as her gaze locks onto his. He feels exposed, like she can see through the walls he's built around himself. He looks at her, standing there with the afternoon sunlight casting a soft glow on her face, her features framed by the light breeze. She looks perfect. The kind of beauty that isn't overdone but feels natural and effortless. She's wearing a simple sundress that falls just above her knees, the color soft, matching the tone of the moment. His mind races. Should he act casual? Should he joke it off? He feels like a schoolboy caught staring. Her smile widens, just the slightest bit, as if she knows exactly what she's doing. She's teasing him, but there's also a deeper layer there. He can feel the playful tension in the air, and yet there's a sense of curiosity from her side as well, as if she's trying to gauge whether he'll respond to her unspoken invitation. His face flushes, but he doesn't back down. "I wasn't pretending," he says, trying to sound cool, his voice betraying him with a slight tremor. For a moment, they stand there, not speaking, but there's an undeniable shift. The world feels a little quieter. His heart beats a little faster. As she turns to walk back into her house, she glances over her shoulder, her expression softening. "Good," she says quietly. "I wouldn't want you to lie to me." It's a simple moment, but it lingers in his mind, setting the stage for what's to come. He can't shake the feeling that something between them is beginning to shift. The wall he's built around his admiration for her is starting to crack, and for the first time, he wonders what it might feel like to cross that line. Over the next few weeks, their casual encounters begin to evolve into something more meaningful. Every time the male narrator sees her, it feels like a natural progression, small, almost unnoticeable, but significant. He finds himself looking forward to their brief conversations. It's as if they've stepped out of the usual boundaries of neighborly pleasantries, each exchange laced with an unspoken understanding that something deeper is beginning to stir. She often catches him at the most unexpected moments. One afternoon, he's pulling weeds in his garden, and she's walking her dog, the sound of its collar jingling in the quiet street. She waves to him from across the yard, her smile as warm as ever. "How's the garden coming along?" she asks, leaning against the fence. There's an easy familiarity in her voice, a slight curiosity in her tone, and he can't help but feel the natural warmth of it. "It's coming together," he replies, feeling oddly shy despite the familiarity between them. "Still working on it." Her eyes flicker to his hands, dirt-streaked and calloused, but there's admiration there too. It's like she's seeing him in a new light, noticing the small details that others might overlook. She tilts her head, a gesture that speaks volumes. "I could help, you know." The offer is casual, but there's something in the way she says it, like she's daring him to let her in, to make that leap from the safe zone of polite interactions to something more. His chest tightens. The invitation feels personal, almost intimate, but he's unsure how to proceed. "Maybe next weekend," he suggests, trying to sound confident, but there's a slight tremor in his voice, betraying his nervousness. She nods, a soft smile playing at the corners of her lips. As the days pass, these brief moments grow longer. He notices how she lingers when they talk, how her gaze holds a little longer than necessary, and how her laugh always seems to light up the quiet around them. Their conversations range from casual topics, gardening tips and neighborhood gossip, to more personal ones. She opens up, ever so slightly, about her own life, how she raised her children alone, how she's worked hard to build the life she has now, and how sometimes she wonders if there's something more for her out there, something she's missing. Each exchange pulls him closer, creating an invisible thread between them. It's in the way she listens intently to his stories, her eyes never leaving his face, showing a genuine interest in his thoughts. He starts to see her not just as his neighbor's mom, but as a person, someone with hopes, dreams, and vulnerabilities, someone who, despite the years between them, feels real and relatable. The connection deepens, and with every shared glance, every lingering touch, the emotional walls around both of them begin to fade, leaving only the quiet, growing tension. It's becoming harder to deny what's developing between them, and for the first time, he wonders if it's something they both secretly crave. After weeks of small talk and growing connection, one afternoon, the male narrator finds himself in an unexpected moment of deeper conversation. They've begun to spend more time together, and the distance between them has shrunk, both physically and emotionally. As the days pass, the light-hearted banter starts to give way to more meaningful, vulnerable exchanges that allow them both to see each other as more than just neighbors. It's during one of these moments that the vulnerability between them is exposed in a way neither of them anticipated. The day is unusually warm, the sun hanging low in the sky, casting a golden glow over everything. He's working on his car, trying to fix something that's been bothering him for a while, when she unexpectedly walks over to offer help. She's wearing an old t-shirt and denim shorts, casual but still effortlessly beautiful. There's something about her, her presence is calming, like a steady force in the middle of the quiet afternoon. "Need a hand?" she asks, her voice soft but carrying a genuine offer. He looks up from under the hood of the car, momentarily taken aback by how natural it feels to have her standing there, offering her help without hesitation. "I think I've got it," he replies with a half-smile, though the truth is, he's not so sure. The idea of her being there, so close, feels both comforting and electrifying. He looks up again, meeting her eyes, and that's when he sees it. For the first time, he notices the subtle sadness in her gaze, a quiet weariness that doesn't quite match her usual cheerful demeanor. She notices him looking at her, and there's a pause, an unspoken moment of recognition. Then she sighs, her shoulders slumping ever so slightly. "You know," she begins, almost hesitantly, "I've been so busy lately, balancing work and everything at home. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough, if I'm enough." Her words are simple, but there's a weight to them. The vulnerability she shares is so raw and unguarded that it hits him harder than he expects. He suddenly feels like he's glimpsing a side of her that she's hidden for so long. The confident, graceful woman he's admired for so long now feels like she's quietly unraveling in front of him, showing him a part of herself that she's never let anyone see. He steps closer, the space between them closing without a word. There's an intense stillness in the air, and he can't help but reach out, placing a gentle hand on her arm in a gesture of comfort. Her eyes meet his, and for a moment, neither of them speaks. "I think you're doing more than enough," he says, his voice surprisingly steady. "You don't have to carry it all alone." She doesn't say anything at first, but her gaze softens, and she looks away briefly, as if gathering her thoughts. The moment lingers, and he can feel the unspoken tension between them, the kind that's filled with both empathy and something deeper. Something that's been quietly growing between them without either of them fully acknowledging it. The brief touch, the vulnerability in her voice, it all adds another layer to the growing connection between them. He's never felt more connected to her than in this moment, and he realizes that this emotional intimacy, this sharing of burdens, is what makes their bond so much more than just physical attraction. In that moment, something shifts, he knows they've crossed a threshold, and there's no going back now. As the days pass, the emotional undercurrent between them continues to build, unnoticed by others but felt deeply by both. Their casual encounters have given way to deeper, more intimate conversations, each one revealing more about their lives, their thoughts, and their desires. There's an undeniable connection between them now, one that neither can ignore. And yet, neither of them has dared to address the growing tension between them, unsure of how to navigate the fine line they're walking. But then, one evening, everything changes. It's a quiet, late afternoon when the male narrator finds himself sitting on his porch, absent-mindedly flipping through a book. He hears footsteps approaching from behind, and before he can look up, a familiar voice interrupts his thoughts. "You know, you've been looking at me for weeks now," she says, her tone a mix of amusement and something deeper, something that catches him off guard. He looks up quickly, his heart skipping a beat at the unexpected directness in her voice. There she is, standing at the edge of his porch, her arms crossed lightly over her chest, a subtle smile playing at her lips. But her eyes are searching, almost daring him to admit something. Something unspoken. His throat tightens as he tries to keep his composure, though he feels suddenly exposed under the weight of her words. She knows. She sees it. The way he's been looking at her, the way his gaze lingers a little too long, his small smiles, his subtle gestures of attention. The truth is, he's been trying to ignore it, trying to play it cool, but now, with her standing there, it feels like there's no way to hide what's been growing between them. "I wasn't," he begins, but she interrupts him with a soft chuckle, shaking her head slightly. "Don't pretend you don't notice me," she says again, her voice light, but with an edge of vulnerability beneath it. There's something almost teasing in her words, but also something that feels like an invitation. It's as if she's daring him to stop pretending, to admit what's been building between them. He swallows hard, his heart pounding in his chest. The confession is there, hanging in the air between them, unspoken, but undeniable. He's been drawn to her from the very beginning, but now, hearing her put it into words, he realizes just how much he's been holding back. How much he's been afraid to acknowledge. "I didn't know if it was just me," he admits quietly, his voice trembling slightly with the honesty of the moment. His eyes drop to the ground, unwilling to meet her gaze, but the words have already escaped him. He feels vulnerable in a way he hasn't before, and yet, it feels strangely freeing. She steps closer, her expression softening, and for the first time, he sees a hint of something deeper in her eyes. Something that mirrors his own emotions. There's no judgment in her gaze, only understanding. "I've been feeling it too," she says softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it's complicated." The tension between them thickens, and in that quiet moment, everything hangs in the balance. There's no turning back now. The confession has been made, and the air between them crackles with the intensity of their emotions. It's a moment that's both liberating and terrifying, because neither of them knows exactly where it will lead, but they both know it's a point of no after their confessions. Things between the male narrator and his neighbor's mom begin to shift. The unspoken tension that once hummed quietly in the background is now impossible to ignore. Yet, despite the growing emotional intimacy, there's a palpable hesitation between them, a silent struggle to balance desire with restraint. Though they both know what's building between them is intense, neither one is willing to take the next step just yet. Both are caught in the delicate dance of wanting something they're not sure they should have. The male narrator is alone in his living room one evening, his thoughts tangled in the quiet after their conversation. He can still feel the weight of her words hanging in the air, the way her eyes softened when she admitted her own feelings. The truth between them has been laid bare, yet the fear of crossing a line keeps him rooted in place. As if on cue, there's a soft knock at his door. He rises quickly, heart fluttering in anticipation, already knowing who it is. His mind races. Should he invite her in? Should he keep things casual or take a leap into what feels like a point of no return? He's unsure but knows he's about to confront the edge of something dangerous and thrilling. Opening the door, he's greeted by her smile, warm but guarded, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. She's standing there with a bottle of wine in her hand, as if offering a casual excuse to visit, but the energy between them is anything but casual. "Thought we could talk," she says, her voice low and hesitant, betraying the nervousness she's trying to hide. He steps aside to let her in, the space between them feeling charged as she walks past him. They sit down on the couch, the wine uncorked but not yet poured. Neither speaks at first, both feeling the quiet weight of what's unsaid. There's something electric about the way she sits beside him, close enough that he can feel the warmth radiating from her, but far enough to maintain the fragile boundary that still exists between them. She turns to him, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that makes his pulse quicken. He can sense her hesitation, too. The tension is palpable, and for a moment, neither of them knows how to bridge the gap. It's almost as if they're both waiting for the other to make a move, unsure whether to proceed with caution or to abandon all restraint. Finally, she speaks, her voice barely a whisper. "We can't keep doing this. It feels like something's about to break, but I don't know if I'm ready for it." Her honesty strikes him with a force he wasn't expecting. It mirrors his own uncertainty, his own internal battle between wanting her and fearing the consequences. He looks at her, his throat tight with emotion. He's so close to reaching out to her, to closing the distance between them, but something stops him, something deep within him that tells him to be careful, to consider what's at stake. He gently pulls his hand back, his fingers brushing against hers for the briefest moment. It's the closest they've come to physical contact since their confessions, and the spark between them is undeniable. But the moment passes as quickly as it arrives, and neither one of them dares to go any further, yet. "I'm not sure I'm ready either," he admits, his voice steady but full of tension. "But I don't want to lose this, whatever this is between us." The conversation fades into silence, the weight of their feelings hanging in the air, unspoken yet all-encompassing. The close call leaves them both lingering in that uncertain space, knowing that whatever happens next will change everything. After the hesitation and moments of uncertainty, the male narrator and his neighbor's mom reach a crossroads. The emotional tension that has simmered beneath the surface for so long can no longer be ignored. They both feel the weight of what's unspoken between them, but neither one has taken the bold step to truly acknowledge it, until now. The bond they've formed is undeniable, but the question remains, how much longer can they dance around what's growing between them without risking everything? It's a rainy evening, the kind where the world feels hushed, and everything slows down under the weight of the downpour. The male narrator is sitting by the window, watching the rain streak against the glass, his thoughts a whirlwind of confusion, longing, and something else, a deep, unspoken desire that he knows can't stay hidden for much longer. When he hears a knock on the door, his heart jumps, and he already knows who it is. She's been on his mind all day, and when he opens the door to find her standing there, her hair damp from the rain, he feels an electric current run through him. She's not just his neighbor's mom anymore. She's her, someone who has become too significant to ignore. "I need to talk to you," she says, her voice quiet, but the urgency in her tone is impossible to miss. There's something in her eyes that tells him she's ready to confront the emotions that have been building between them. He steps aside to let her in, and as she crosses the threshold, the air shifts. It feels as though they're crossing into unknown territory, a place neither one of them is sure they're ready to enter. They sit down on the couch, close but not touching, their silence heavy with anticipation. Her gaze lingers on him, a mix of longing and uncertainty in her expression. She looks vulnerable in a way she's never shown before, her guard lowered just enough for him to see the raw emotion beneath her usually confident exterior. "I can't keep pretending," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel something for you. Something I can't ignore anymore." There's a pause, and her eyes flicker with the depth of her admission. "And I think you feel it too." His breath catches in his throat, the words hanging between them like a weight. He's been holding on to his feelings for so long, but now, in this moment, he can no longer pretend that they aren't there. He nods slowly, his voice thick with emotion as he admits, "I do. I've been feeling it, too. And I can't keep pretending I don't want this, us." The confession feels like a release, like a dam breaking, allowing all the pent-up emotions to pour free. They both sit in the aftermath of their words, the silence between them no longer uncomfortable but filled with understanding. She reaches for his hand, her fingers brushing his gently, and when they touch, it's like everything falls into place. It's the first time they've truly connected physically, and the warmth of her hand in his sends a jolt of reassurance through him. This is real. They've crossed the threshold together, and there's no turning back now. I don't know what happens next, she says softly, her voice a mixture of uncertainty and hope. But I know I want to find out with you. The moment lingers, but it's not one of fear or doubt, it's one of hope, of new beginnings. The emotional barrier that once held them apart has finally crumbled, leaving only the raw, undeniable connection between them. Whatever comes next, they know they've taken the first step towards something neither of them can ignore any longer. After the confessions and the vulnerability that came with them, the male narrator and his neighbor's mom are standing on the precipice of something new. Their relationship has changed, and with it, the dynamics between them have shifted into something more profound. What once existed in the realm of hesitation, longing, and unspoken desires is now beginning to take shape into something tangible, a connection that is raw, honest, and undeniably real. The rain has finally stopped, and the air feels fresh, crisp, as if the world itself is cleansing itself for what's to come. They sit together in the soft glow of the living room lights, the quiet hum of the night surrounding them. The tension has finally given way to a kind of peace, a calm acceptance of the emotions they've both been holding back. For the first time, they both allow themselves to simply be, with no barriers, no doubts, just an openness to whatever might unfold next. She's sitting close to him, their hands still gently intertwined on the couch. He can feel the soft warmth of her touch, the way their fingers fit together so naturally, as if they've always belonged this way. The absence of words between them is not awkward, it's comforting. They don't need to say anything, there's an unspoken understanding that fills the room, and it's more than enough. Her head rests lightly on his shoulder, and he feels the quiet weight of her, the steady rhythm of her breath that matches his own. It's in these moments of silence that he begins to understand just how much he's wanted this connection, this feeling of not being alone, of sharing a space with someone who sees him, understands him, and feels him. "Do you think we're making the right choice?" she asks softly, her voice barely audible in the stillness. The question lingers, filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. She's not asking for reassurance, not in the way people often do when they're afraid. They both know there are no guarantees, no promises of easy paths ahead. "I don't know what happens next," he replies, his voice steady but full of emotion. "But I know I don't want to walk away from this. From you." She smiles gently at his words, and he sees the warmth in her eyes, the trust she's beginning to place in him. There's a quiet strength in her vulnerability, a willingness to embrace this uncertain journey with him. In this moment, everything feels possible, the weight of the past fading into the background. As the evening stretches on, they share more than just physical closeness, they share their hopes, their fears, and the soft promises of what the future could hold. They don't need to rush, they don't need to know all the answers right now. The simple act of being together, of accepting each other in this raw, unguarded state, is enough for now. This is the beginning of something new, something real. And as the night deepens, the warmth of their connection becomes undeniable. They may not know exactly where this path will lead, but they've stepped onto it together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever comes next with acceptance, hope, and the quiet certainty that they've found something special, something worth exploring.